Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about some of the miracle stories that are happening right here in our own city, in our own state, every day. My name is Tony Kausha, and the title of our show is Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles. Please note, this show is not about religion, and we're not trying to change anyone's religion, and we're not trying to get you to join any religion. It's just about miracle stories. I don't know of any religion on the planet that doesn't talk about miracles. That's why religions begin, because they have something that's telling them there's really a God. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to just talk about miracles and leave the decisions about all that up to you. So we don't care what religion you are. We just want to talk about miracles. If you are an atheist, I think you'll enjoy the program as well, although I can't guarantee you'll remain an atheist very long after you hear many convincing stories, coincidence kinds of stories about miracles. You can email me your own stories if you wish. We'll try to use all we can on the show. I can't guarantee we will, depending on volume and time, but you're welcome to send your stories on to us, and we will mention them when we can. You can send them to the following email address. But please notice that if we do use your story, we won't mention your name. We'll keep you anonymous. And we suggest that in your story, when you send it to us, don't use your correct name. That way anyone listening will not be able to figure out that it was you that sent the story in. The email address you can send your stories to is very easy to remember. It consists of 2 words and 3 numbers. The first word is Tony, spelled Tony, and the second word is and, spelled AND, and the numbers are 777. So once again, the name is Tony and 777 at AOL.com. Well, let us begin. Our first coincidence miracle today is from a person who tells us they had many projects, many things they were trying to get done, and they were feeling overloaded, stressed out about even deciding what to do next. So they got an idea, an inspiration to pray and ask God to inspire them with which thing to take first, because it apparently didn't matter. There were so many things that had to get done, and they were overstressed. So it wouldn't matter which one they did first as long as they could get things caught up. So they were inspired to go to the Bible, open the Bible at random. Now, many saints in history have done this. I think St. Francis of Assisi is especially noteworthy that he often did that, and he formed his congregation, his group of men that became the Franciscans, and developed their order that way by opening the Bible at random. And some other saints I know have done it as well. So this person just got inspired to do that. So they went and they opened the Bible. One of the things they had to get done, they decided that they were planning to meet with a funeral parlor and get all of their last wishes, their last plans for their funeral, etc., put together so their family wouldn't have a lot of stress when they passed away. So that was one of the things on their list of things to do. And they also, beside that, plan to update their will, so they had to see their lawyer about that. So that they tell us that was one of the things that was bothering them. So they were inspired to open the Bible at random, so they did that. They sat down, they said a prayer, asked for God's help to open to a place that would help them pick what to do next. And they opened the Bible at random, and they tell us that they opened to Isaiah chapter 38, verse 1. Again, Isaiah 38, verse 1, and that says it was God telling King Hezekiah to put his house in order and get everything organized because King Hezekiah was about to die. Now, this person tells us that they were shocked by that, but it certainly was a clear answer because one of their projects was to meet with the lawyer and finalize their final will and to meet with a funeral parlor. They tell us they did accomplish those things and got that done before they sent us this note. And then what happened after that was another coincidence miracle, but this one was pretty neat, I think, opening the Bible at random, and many saints have done that, so we got evidence in today's modern day terms, this person had to see a lawyer and see a funeral parlor and has gotten it all done now, but because they opened at random, and I guess we could chuckle a little bit because they haven't died yet. They still had time to send us this story. But the other thing that happened was pretty amazing because they had to start from scratch with their lawyer. Apparently the will they had prepared in the past was very old. So they had a long, drawn-out meeting with their lawyer talking about all of the plans they had and things they wanted to get covered in their last will and testament, etc. And some of the things they had because of their assets, etc., got complicated. So they spent a lot of time, and lawyers get to a point where they start charging you by the hour or by the minute, and so they had gotten to that point. So now he was in a rush with his lawyer to get things consummated because it was getting costly. And so they got to the point where, with a lawyer, you wind up signing documents at their office with witnesses, etc. So he was signing the documents, and because they were pressed for time, he decided he would sign them and trust the lawyer. And the lawyer had another meeting coming up, so it got a little stressful. They had to hurry up. So that's what he decided. He decided they talked so much about everything, and the lawyer knew all of his wishes, that there shouldn't be anything wrong. He felt they've talked about it so much, everything must be fine. So he just signed everything. And then when he got home, he put his will away, but he kept getting agitated and irritated about it, that he hadn't proofread and hadn't read the things he signed. And it kept gnawing at him for a couple of days. And so after a couple of days, he said a prayer, got inspired again. Remember, he opened the Bible at random the first time and got this project done, but prayed and got inspired to take the will out and read it. And sure enough, he read it and he found 2 errors in it, things that he and the lawyer had agreed would be done, but apparently the secretaries did not type everything correctly. And so the moral of all this story is, he asked God what to do in the first case, and he opens the Bible at random because he was inspired to do that, and he was inspired to work on this project. And now, after it was all finished, he thought he would just trust the lawyer, and everything was signed. I guess he put his documents in a safe place. But for 2 days, he was bothered by it, that he didn't proofread it. And now because he was bothered, he prayed, he got inspired to read it, and he followed the inspiration again the second time now. And he had to go back to the lawyer and get the stuff revised at no charge. So I think this points out to us the real extreme benefit you get if you ask God what to do, if you ask God, to inspire you before you take on projects, etc. Here's a person with 2 very significant instances that were proof that God showed him. He opened the Bible at random. It was specifically open to the fact that somebody was dying and passing away, and it says, get your business in order, get your house in order. There was a pretty clear clue that he opened the Bible to the correct page. And then this gnawing for 2 days, bothering him that he had not proofread, it turns out it certainly must have been from God, because when he asked for inspiration, he read it. So I know I went on a little bit long about this, but I think all of us can take this to heart. There's a person who asked God what to do, and they absolutely got guided by God, and God did answer him. Our next coincidence miracle is from someone who was out shopping, and on the way home after a shopping expedition, was passing by a church, got inspired to pull over and go in for a visit, and spent, said 30 minutes. After about 30 minutes, they were inspired to leave. They said it was very enjoyable. They got some inspirations and some thoughts and ideas. Certainly I always push people to make visits, go into an empty church, because basically just going into a church, just that alone, going inside and closing the door, helps people, including myself, to realize you're in a holy place. When they build churches, they bless them, the ground that they're built upon, etc., and then they bless the building, etc. So it's blessed and presumably a very holy place. And certainly in Scripture, it's called God's house. God talks about it as his house, and he promises he will dwell in his temple. So that's why it's a holy place. That's why people think of it as a holy place, because God has designated church buildings, synagogues, etc., to be places where people come to talk to Him. Specifically, that's, you don't go to see a lawyer, you go to a church. You don't go to a doctor and go into a church. But when you want to talk to God, you go into a church. So that's why I always push people, because I myself and many of my friends get a lot of benefit by going into an empty church and talking to God for, like this person did, for 30 minutes. But their point is that after they left, they were really amazed, because after they left, like they've heard us say so many times on these radio shows, they got to the very next four-way intersection, and they saw a car pull into the intersection with 3 sevens on the license plate. And I know we must have shared this with you guys, people who listen regularly. We must have shared this about 40 times already in all of our shows. 3 sevens is the number that means God, God's power, God's permission, and His presence. And we all know 3 sixes is cited in the Bible. The Bible says 3 sixes is the number for the devil. But historically, 3 sevens is the number that reminds us of God's power, permission, and presence. So this person went in to pray, spends about 30 minutes, and for some reason leaves then instead of 25 minutes, because they would have missed this intersection coincidence miracle. And it's a coincidence miracle because 3 sevens shows up after they left the church, precisely after they left the church, and at the very first four-way intersection. So that's why it's called a coincidence miracle. The coincidence is they went to church first, they prayed first, and then they see the 3 sevens, which is God's number. If they saw the number after they finished shopping, they might not think that it was related, but certainly because they spent time with God, they very much feel that it was a coincidence miracle. Our next coincidence miracle is from someone who tells us that they took our advice on Facebook and LinkedIn. I often suggest to people they go to our website, and before they listen to one of the radio shows on our podcast or on our blog, before they do that, they ask God in their heart and their mind, ask God which show should they listen to. So they can do this and get a 12-minute meditation by listening to these past radio shows. But they ask God in their mind which one. We have, at this point, there's 158, almost 160 radio shows on our website that we've produced already. So you can ask God which number between 1 and 160 to listen to, and then go onto our website and pick that number and listen to it again. So this person was inspired to do that and to pick show number 25, and they said it was spot on, perfectly what they needed to hear for that day, because when they listened to show number 25, and again, I'm telling you, we have 160 shows recorded on our website. So they went to the website, picked show number 25, which says we should be asking God what to do all day long. Throughout the day, as we're changing projects and we're starting to do something else, or we're going to call somebody, or we're going shopping or whatever, ask God what to do and how to do it and when to go, because if you do that, He can design your whole day to be filled with coincidence miracles. And when they went to show number 25, they were blessed, because that's exactly what it said to do, that you should ask God everything, and they had not been asking God what to do for the past 4 or 5 days. So this was like God saying to them, nudging them, knocking on their hearts, saying, you haven't been talking to me, you should be. And it was a great reminder. God bless you all. I'll talk to you next week.